Hello everyone, welcome back to SFPC Mix. In this video, we are going to see how we can utilize the test suite within the Salesforce Lightning flow. Anyone who is working on a Salesforce would already be know about the Apex test class, which we create for the Apex class to make sure the code coverage is proper for the Apex class. Similarly, we do have a test suite option for the Lightning flow within the Salesforce. But unlike the Apex test class, which we created for the Apex class, which is a mandatory for the Apex class, for the Lightning flow, it's not mandatory. That means that you can always have the Lightning flow without the test case created or the test suite created. However, you can always use the test suite within the Lightning flow to make sure the tests are getting executed properly. So in this video, we are going to see how exactly we can utilize this test suite within the Lightning flow. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to explain this test suite behavior within the Lightning flow with a use case or an example. So I have an example where I have a case, and for the case, whenever the due date is updated from the blank value to some value, there should be an email triggered to the recipient. So how the email will be triggering? I have a Lightning flow created. I have a very simple and small Lightning flow created to trigger the email for the recipient. So as per this particular Lightning flow, so it just checks the due date within the flow, whether it is blank or not, and if it is blank and we are changing it to some value, then we have an email which will be triggering to the recipient. That's what the functionality of this flow, and it's a very simple flow. So now let's see whether this particular flow is working or not. So as per our requirement, the due date should be blank first, because that's how the flow is designed. Like if in case it already has some value and you are changing it to some other value, it doesn't trigger. So let's keep it let's keep the value blank first. Let me save it. Okay, so now we have a record ready, and I have defined the flow to run on the update scenario only. So that's why I'm just using the existing case, and now I will be updating the due date to some other value. So I can update any other value. It should trigger. So when I select some value and I select save, as per the flow, as per the conditions or the criteria which is defined on the flow, it's supposed to send an email. But it doesn't seem it has sent any email, because if there is any email which it has sent, I should be able to see under the most recent activity under the feed here, but I don't see anything. So that seems like there is some issue with the email. That means that the email is not getting triggered when I change the due date for this case. So consider that this is an issue which is reported to you from the customer or the client, and you being a Salesforce developer or from the Salesforce tech team has to identify or find the root cause of this issue. So now let's debug this issue. So as a Salesforce developer, the first thing which you do is you go to the flow and check the criteria, because the email triggering point is from the Lightning flow, right? So we have this Lightning flow, and as per the criteria, there should be a email triggering. First thing what you do is like you just manually check the criteria whether it is meeting or not. And if in case you see it is actually meeting all the criteria, but it doesn't seem like the email is still getting triggered, so the next thing what you can do is you can always use the debug option, where you'll be able to see the each stage, how the flow got executed and whether it is getting all the values which are required to be executed or not. Everything you'll be able to see it under the debug. So let's try the debug option first. So I will click on debug, and this is my flow. This is my case. Let me remove it and select it again. If you just want to see 1038, this is the case. And what I have to do, I need to update the due date under this specific case. Now, there's a point here. If you remember, I have mentioned the flow will only trigger when the due date was blank, and from the blank value, I have updated it to some value. But when I use the debug option, I don't get an option to remove it and save it and then add it and run the debug option. The reason is because here I don't have a save option available, and even if I just remove it and run it, it doesn't work. That is because the run automation in rollback mode is already enabled. That means whatever the changes which you do under the debug mode, that won't be committed to the Salesforce database. So now, what is my other option? Because I can't keep it blank and save it and then come back and add it and use the debug option. If you want, I can just show that. I mean, I will run it. If I run this, it won't run. If you see, it did not reach to the send email stage. That is because it did not meet, it won't meet the criteria. So there comes the option test suite. And again, before I go to the test suite option, you may be wondering, like, we can do it in another way, that we can go to the org, we can go to the case record and update the due date to blank, and then go to the debug. And then while you are debugging the issue, there you can update the due date again under the debug and execute it. That should run. Yes, that will definitely work. But just imagine in a way that the issue which is reported is on the production, and if it is on the production, you can't directly change the due date from your side because it would be a business record, and you may be requiring a permission from the business in order to just change it. And it's not I mean, you can't simply change it for the testing purpose on the production, right? So if it is on a sandbox, you can definitely do that. But what if it's on a production, the issue reported is on a production, and you want to debug it without touching the data on the prod? So there comes the test suite within the Lightning flow. So let's see how does the test suite will help us in this scenario. So let me cancel this and edit the flow. Okay, so here we have an option view test, right? So what I'll do, I'll just simply click here. I already have one test suite created. Let me just delete it because I'll be creating a new test suite. I'll show you how exactly we can create it and we can use it. So I'll click on create and I'll just give a name as test, and I want it to be updated. I want it to run on update scenario. Anyway, this will be selected because as per the flow which is defined, accordingly it will take these options. And if in case there are multiple versions, you need to make sure the version which is active, that you need to be selected. Here I only have one version, so it's already selected, which is fine. And then I'll go to the test setup. And here you need to define how do you want to take the data, whether it's from the org or from the different source. So I want to take it from the org because I already have a case existed. And then now you have an option to set initial stage and the triggering the initial triggering record and updated triggering record. So let me select the case which I want to be tested, and here I have a due date option. So initial triggering record, I'll keep it as a blank because our flow will work only if the due date was blank and then it has been updated to some value from the blank value or the null value. And triggering record, I will select the due date as some value. Let's select it as 31st of July and set the assertion. So this is to make sure whether our test case is passed or not. Similarly, how we use the assertion in the Apex test class, you can use it here as well. So what I will do, what exactly we are trying to find out, or the test is whether the email is getting triggered or not. So I will use the email action send email equal to true. So this way I'll be able to make sure whether our flow is getting executed and sending the email or not. You can also add a custom failure message if in case it failed, but right now I don't need one. So I will simply save this. Now our test suite is ready. So how do I run it? So all I have to do is I'll just click on view test. I have a test suite ready. I'll just select this and click on drop down and run test and view details. You can also run it from here, but I want to see the details as well. So I'll select this option and run it. Okay, so now if you can see this, test is passed and it is flowing through each stage, and it is also indicating that it is actually sending an email. Here and assertion is also passed. So the assertion which we have mentioned is send email equal to true. So it is actually sending an email, and that's why it is becoming true and the test is passed. And if you want to see all the details like how it got executed in each stage, you'll be able to see it from all the details here as well. What is the value it got, everything you'll be able to see from this section. Okay, so now if I just click on view test, here I'll be able to see the result as a pass, and if I want to run it again, I can do that as well. So now, this is how we can utilize the test suite in such scenarios. Usually, like for the issues related to the flows, we use the debug option, but in some scenarios like this, we may need of our test suites as well, and that is how this is how we can utilize the test suite. So after this, obviously the Salesforce developers or the tech team knows what else to do, because right now we have identified there's no issue with the flow because the flow is absolutely executing fine, and we have confirmed that via test suite. So the next step would be finding the email logs to see like whether the email is getting failed or something. I already have a email logs requested and downloaded where it was showing something like the message has been blocked. That that looks like the email is not verified, or I would need to set up something related to the email. So which is fine. I'm not going to cover that in this session, so which is for the later part, which is totally fine. And our main focus was to see how we can utilize the test suite within the Salesforce, and that is what we have done. And that's it for the Salesforce test suite and how to create it and how to use it. I hope you find this video helpful. Do subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching the video.